Now, it's not often that a tragedy is called bizarre, but something happened in Norway and it checks all the boxes for an exception. This story is all things bizarre. We begin with a map. Not too far from the capital city of Oslo is a small town called Kongsberg. It is home to nearly 28,000 people, not really well known outside Norway, but now it's in international headlines. On the 13th of October, people around the world were talking about Kongsberg. Why? Because a blast from the past. Prehistory, to be specific. A man staged a Stone Age style attack in Kongsberg. He went around killing people with a bow and arrows. Imagine this, it's around 6 p.m. in the evening, it's fall, Thanksgiving is around the corner, so locals are at the town center meeting people, buying things from a supermarket. In walks a man carrying a quiver on his shoulder. There are arrows in it and a bow in the man's hand. And before you know, this man is shooting arrows at you. It's unbelievable, but this is exactly what happened in Kongsberg. Now, mass killings are very rare in Norway. Mass killings with bow and arrow, well, that's unheard of. Reports say people ran for their lives. Eyewitnesses say they heard screams, the kind they had never heard before. One thought that she heard death cries. Here was a man moving around the town center with a bow and arrow, shooting random people. At least 5 people died. Photos from the scene flooded social media. In one, a black arrow was seen sticking out of a wall. There were arrows lying on the floor too. The scene of the terror attack looked like a rogue archery championship, a death game. Norway's reaction was equally bizarre. It was the last day of Prime Minister Erna Solberg's government, so the outgoing and the incoming administration came together to discuss if this incident can be called a terror attack. Listen to this.
I want to underline that if it's terror-related, we don't know if it's a political attack that has taken place. The police will have to investigate that.
The police are saying that they don't know if it's an act of terror.
Well, what really is an act of terror? An episode that instills fear in people's mind. And from what I read, the locals are petrified after these attacks, and understandably so. So why is the government shy of calling a spade a spade? Well, the problem lies in living in denial or making up for being unprepared. We'll get to that in a bit. First, let's introduce you to the terrorist. Who is the man, the bow and arrow man? 37 years old, not a Norwegian, he's Danish. This man has a history of health problems. He recently converted to Islam and has been on the radar since. Right now, he's in police custody and reports say he has implicated himself in the attacks. Reports also say that this man was previously flagged for radicalization. Clearly, the authorities did not do enough about it. Like I said, this country is not really familiar with mass shootings. There have been some stray incidents, like in 2011, for example, when a terrorist killed 77 people in bombing and mass shooting. This man was handed Norway's maximum sentence, that's 21 years in jail, and the country moved on. There's been no major terror incident since. So this bizarre bow and arrow attack is in fact the deadliest attack that Norway has seen in a decade, which should be good news. But it also means that the forces are unprepared to deal with something like this. I'll tell you why. There were among the 3+ people that this terrorist injured, one was a police officer. Now, he could have neutralized the terrorist. He could have saved some lives, perhaps, but he failed to because he did not even have a gun. And this is something that you may not know. In Norway, most police officers do not carry guns. They also need prior permission to fire a gun. That will change now, we are told. After the Kongsberg incident, officers have been asked to carry guns with immediate effect. But that's a reactive measure, and that's where the problem lies. The bow and arrow attack has shown the Scandinavian country that terror does not follow a pattern. It does not have a weapon of choice. Being spared by terrorism does not mean being terror-free. The world must be prepared to fight terror. Terrorists with rocket-propelled grenades, like in Beirut. Terrorists with an air force, like the ones sitting in power in Afghanistan. And terrorists fresh out of Stone Age, like the bizarre attack in Norway. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.